For making just one call after the family who abandoned me demanded my house? My name is Amanda and today I am 32 years old. But this story started long before, when I was still a girl who believed that family, no matter how tough they were, would always be there. They kicked me out of their house in the rain when I lost my job. 5 years later they came to my door and told me, "You are alone without a husband, without children. We are going to keep this house." I did not argue. I did not yell at them. I just took a breath. I took out my cell phone and made a call and everything changed right there. I grew up in the suburbs of Dallas, in a quiet neighborhood in Plano, in a gated community with rules and a homeowner association that my parents took way too seriously. We were neither rich nor poor. We were middle class. My dad Robert worked as a manager at an insurance company. My mom Susan was an accountant and there was my older brother Justin, who was 3 years older than me. Justin was the pride of the house, the favorite, the untouchable one. It had always been that way. Everything revolved around him. When Justin turned 16, my parents gave him a brand new Honda Civic. When he finished high school, they paid for a private university, the kind they show off in commercials. Every summer they went on vacation to nice resorts, and he went with them as if he were entitled to it. In my case, it was different. At 16 I started working part-time at Walmart to save some money and be able to study. While they took pictures at the resorts, I counted my hours and saved what I could. And when those summers arrived where it seemed like I was in the way at home, I went to stay with my grandmother Evelyn. She lived in a small town in the Texas Hill Country, in a simple little house with a small garden full of flowers. My grandmother was the only one who truly looked at me. Not like I was a burden, not like the other daughter. She listened to me. "Learn to support yourself, Amanda," she used to tell me. "Do not cling to anyone, not even your family. Build your own life." When I turned 18, I decided to study web design. I liked creating things, putting pages together, making graphics, seeing how something blank turned into something real. It excited me. I felt like that was my calling. One day I said it at the table during a family meal. "I want to study web design." My dad looked up as if I had said something incredibly stupid. "Web design?" he repeated with a look of disdain that I will never forget. "That is just a whim. Study finance or something serious." My mom did not even hesitate. "That is not a real profession, Amanda. You are not going to make a living out of that." Justin laughed with his mouth full. "You are going to end up without a job and without a house. Good luck." That day I understood that if I wanted to study, I was going to do it on my own, because my parents did not give me a single dollar, not one. I moved out of the house and rented a room with 2 roommates. I enrolled in a more affordable school, the kind you can pay for if you work and organize yourself, and I worked as much as I could to achieve it. I ended up having 2 jobs at the same time. There were days when my back hurt from standing and my head hurt from not sleeping, but I kept going. 2 years later, I managed to transfer to a public university to properly finish my degree. It was hard. There were semesters where I lived on barely anything. I ate whatever I could afford, reused everything, and still I graduated at 22. Then I went to live in Dallas and got a job as a designer at a digital agency. It was not a great position, but it was a start. I rented an apartment with a girl named Rachel. Between the 2 of us, we paid the rent and had enough to survive. During those years I barely spoke to my parents. I sent them messages on special dates, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and that was it. The person I did talk to was my grandmother Evelyn. She was my safe haven. There was one Christmas when I went back to my parents' house. I thought maybe it would be different. It was a mistake. I spent the whole dinner listening to how well Justin was doing, that he already had a great job, that he had a future, that he was moving up. And they looked at me as if I were the example of what not to do. "I do not know why you insisted on that," my dad blurted out. "As smart as you are, you could have chosen well." I stayed quiet, swallowed my anger, and when the visit was over, I did not go back. I focused on my work, learned everything I could. I took on extra projects, stayed late. Little by little I started getting good, really good. And just when I finally felt I had stability, everything fell apart. One Monday I arrived at the agency and there was a notice on the door. "Closed, bankrupt." We were left without a job just like that, without warning, without severance, without anything. I felt empty. I had been there for 5 years enduring and growing. To top it off, that same week Rachel told me she was going to live with her boyfriend. That meant the entire rent was going to fall on me. I could not afford it. I started looking for a job immediately. I sent out resumes like crazy. I went to interviews, they promised me things and then never called back. 3 months passed. I wiped out my savings. One day I got a notice from the landlord. If I did not pay, I had to leave. That was when I did what I swore I would never do. I called my parents. My dad answered. "Hello, Dad, I need help," I told him with a tight voice. "I lost my job. They are going to kick me out of the apartment. Can you lend me $2,000? It is for the rent and what I owe for this month. I will pay you back as soon as I find something." There was a short silence. Not out of surprise, but the kind where they are already judging you. "Those are the consequences of your decisions," he said coldly. "Please," I told him, "I really have nowhere to go." "We cannot help you," he blurted out. "Why not?" "It is just to get through this month," I insisted, already desperate. "We are paying for Justin's master's degree." He replied as if that closed any discussion. "You chose that path. Now deal with it." My hand trembled. "Mom, are you there?" I asked. And then I heard her calm voice, as if she were giving me advice. "Your dad is right, Amanda. We cannot keep bailing you out of the consequences of your bad decisions." And they hung up on me. I sat on the floor of the apartment looking at my cell phone as if it had turned into something foreign. There was no screaming or drama. Everything just ended abruptly. I packed the little I had, clothes, my laptop, some personal items, everything fit in my car. And on a rainy October afternoon, I drove to my parents' house in Plano. I was still so naive that I thought, if they see me soaked, if they see me face to face, they will let me in, even if it is just for a few weeks. It was raining hard. By the time I reached the door, my hair was already plastered to my face and my sneakers were full of water. I rang the bell. My dad opened it. "Amanda," he said without emotion. "Dad, I have nowhere to go," I told him almost without a voice. "Let me stay here for a couple of weeks just until I find a job." "No," he answered without blinking. "You have to take responsibility." My mom appeared behind him, adjusting her sweater, without looking at me straight on. "Tomorrow we have a meeting with the homeowner association," she said. "This is not the time for this. I am begging you on my knees," I said. And I hated myself for sounding like that. My dad's face hardened. "The answer is no." And he closed the door on me. I stood there in the rain, looking at that door as if I could not believe what had just happened. They left me outside in the middle of a storm with my things in the car with no one. I tried to call my grandmother, Evelyn. Once, twice, 3 times she did not answer. I got in the car and drove aimlessly until I ended up in a Walmart parking lot. I looked for a well-lit place near where people walked by and stayed there. That night I slept in the seat with a jacket over me and my body tense. And I kept doing that for several days. I slept in the car and during the day I looked for a job. I showered wherever I could, at a gym that let you in by paying for a day pass. I moved around and avoided always staying in the same parking lot. I felt invisible. In the afternoon I filled out applications at coffee shops, at restaurants, wherever, whatever it was. One day I was in a coffee shop around the area where we used to hang out in high school, with my laptop open checking job openings, when someone said my name. "Amanda." I looked up. It was Nicole. We had gone to high school together. We were not close friends, but we knew each other. Nicole kept looking at me with concern. "Are you okay? You look different, as if you have not slept." I tried to answer something, but my voice broke and I started crying right there, uncontrollably, as if my body had finally given up. Nicole sat across from me. "Tell me what happened." And I told her everything. About the job, the rent, my parents shutting the door on me, sleeping in the car. Nicole thought about it. "You are coming with me," she said. "Right now I have a spare room. You are not going to stay like this." She took me to her house, fed me, let me shower in peace like I needed to. She gave me a bed with clean sheets. That night I slept so much that it even hurt to wake up. The next day Nicole made some calls. Her boyfriend Derek had a small design studio. Nicole called him and told him what was happening. That same day she got me an interview. I went to Derek's studio with my heart racing. I showed him my portfolio. I explained what I knew how to do, what I had done at the agency, what I was willing to learn. Derek reviewed everything unhurriedly. Then he looked at me. "Do a quick test for me," he said. "Something simple. I want to see how you work." I sat right there with sweaty hands and did what he asked. When I finished, he reviewed it in silence. You start on Monday, he said at the end. We are going to do it with a 1-week paid trial. If everything goes as I hope, you stay. The pay is not spectacular, but it is work and what you do is well done. Tears almost came to my eyes right there. On Monday, I joined the studio. It was a small modern place with large windows and light walls. There were 3 other designers. Derek assigned me simple projects at first: presentations, social media, graphics, basic identity. I clung to that job as if my life depended on it. I stayed late. I took on extra work. I wanted no one to be able to say I did not earn it. After 2 weeks, Derek called me into his office. You are good, he told me straight up. Very good. I am going to raise your salary and give you more important projects. I breathed as if a weight had been lifted off my chest. That same week I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Amanda? An older woman asked. Yes. I am Barbara, she said. I am your grandmother Evelyn's neighbor. I am calling you because your grandmother is in the hospital. She got pneumonia. She is in serious condition. She has been asking for you. I felt my body freeze. That was why she had not answered when I called her from my parents' house. I told Nicole as soon as I hung up. I have to go to my grandmother. I will take you, Nicole told me without hesitation. We drove to the Texas Hill Country. We left early to avoid the worst of the traffic, but it was still several hours of highway and curves with a heavy silence. When I walked into the hospital and saw my grandmother in that bed hooked up to machines, I felt a punch to my stomach. She looked so small, but when she saw me, her face lit up. Amanda, my little girl, she whispered. I sat next to her and took her hand. I am here, Grandma. She breathed with difficulty. I wanted to answer you, but I got sick very fast. Do not think about that, I told her. I am here now. Nicole stayed that first day and then returned to Dallas. I asked for time off at work. Derek understood. I stayed with my grandmother. I spent days with her. We talked about everything. She told me things about my dad when he was young before he became hardened. She talked to me about my grandfather. She told me she was proud of me, that she did see everything I had done on my own. On the 3rd day, my grandmother looked at me with that calm seriousness she always had. Open the drawer over there, she told me. I opened it. Inside was a thick envelope. Take it. Inside there were keys and papers. It is the deed to the house, she told me slowly. And there is my account information. It is for you. Grandma, no, I told her, feeling like I was running out of breath. You are going to get well. She smiled at me sadly. Do not tell me that. You and I know the truth. I squeezed her hand. I want you to have a real home, she continued. So that no one ever kicks you out in the rain again. So you can build your life there, the life you want. I cried. I love you very much, I told her. Me too, my little girl, she answered. More than you imagine. That night she passed away peacefully. I was holding her hand when she stopped breathing. The funeral was 2 days later. My parents went, Justin too. They sat all the way in the front with a seriousness that was not sadness, it was discomfort. As if they were wasting their time. After the funeral, my grandmother's lawyer called everyone to read the will. We sat in a small room. The lawyer opened the document and read in a firm voice. To my granddaughter Amanda, I leave my house in the Texas Hill Country with everything inside and my savings account, which currently holds approximately $40,000. The room fell silent. My dad stood up abruptly, red with anger. This cannot be, he blurted out. That property should belong to us. It belongs to the family. My mom raised her voice, offended. Evelyn was my mother. I am her daughter. That house belongs to me. The lawyer was unfazed. The will is legal, it is valid. My dad pointed at me as if I had done something dirty. You surely manipulated her. You filled her head with ideas. I looked at him and felt a strange calm. I visited her, I said quietly. That was all. You guys never went. Justin also stood up. It is not fair. We need that money more. The lawyer closed the folder. The will stands. This meeting is over. My family left there furious, slamming the door. 2 weeks later I moved into my grandmother's house in the Texas Hill Country. It was old and needed many repairs, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, something was truly mine. I started renovating it little by little with what I was earning, and with what my grandmother left. To start, I painted the rooms with colors she would have liked. I fixed the plumbing, checked the electrical wiring, restored the floor, cleaned the garden, and planted flowers like the ones she used to take care of. Derek let me work remotely most of the time, so I set up a workspace in a room and also started looking for clients on my own. By day I did studio projects, by night I took on extra work. One of my first clients was Matthew, owner of a bookstore in the center of town. I met him because I went to buy books and we ended up talking about design. He hired me to revamp the business's image. Then more came. People started recommending me. Word spread. A year later I formally registered my own studio, Creative Horizon. I specialized in identity and brand image for small businesses. I worked a ton, but for the first time it did not weigh me down. It was my dream. 5 years passed since I moved into that house. The house was already completely renovated. I turned my grandmother's garage into a professional office. I hired 3 people. We had steady clients, consistent income, and a pace that was no longer about surviving but growing. And Matthew and I became close. What started as something work-related turned into a friendship and then into something more. Over time, he started staying with me more and more days until we were living together between the hill country and the city depending on work. We had been in a formal relationship for a year. I was happy, truly. I had a home, a company I built with my own hands, and people who actually loved me. One day, without warning, I got a message from Justin. We had not spoken since the dispute over the will. Hello, Amanda. I heard you are doing very well. I would like to reconnect. We are family, can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. I did not trust him, but in the end curiosity won out. I called him. Justin, what do you want? I told him bluntly. His voice sounded friendly. Too friendly. I just want to talk. I have been thinking about the family, about how important it is. I want to go see your house. Something smelled fishy, but I accepted on one condition, a visit on Saturday afternoon, a few hours, and that is it. Perfect, he said. I am bringing Mom and Dad too. Before I could say no, he hung up. The next day my mom called me. Amanda, my little girl, she said with a sweet voice that almost sounded like another person. Justin told me we are going to see you. I am dying to see how you left your grandmother's house. I told her straight up. Sure, she replied quickly. I am just saying how nice it is that you fixed it up. Family is the most important thing, do not you think? See you on Saturday, I said and hung up. On Saturday my parents and Justin arrived. They got out of the car and walked in as if they had the right to. They walked slowly through the whole house, looking at the renovated kitchen, the restored floor, the garden, the office in the garage. We sat down for lunch. I had prepared simple sandwiches and a salad. It was not a banquet, it was a visit. And that had already been made clear. We made small talk for about 20 minutes and then my dad dropped the line. Amanda, this house is too big for just one person, he said as if he were concerned. Do not you think it is a waste? I looked at him. I like having space. My mom leaned in as if explaining something obvious. What your dad means is that we think we should live here with you. I left my sandwich on the plate. What do you mean live here? We are family, Justin said. And you have plenty of room. No, I answered immediately. No. My dad raised his hand. Listen to us. Justin can set up in your garage office and work from there. Your mom and I will take the master bedroom. You use one of the small rooms. I felt the heat rise to my face. What are you talking about? This is my house. We are family, my mom repeated as if that justified everything. Besides, that house should not stay in the hands of just one person. It belongs to the family. Oh, family, I said. And my voice came out stronger, like when I was sleeping in my car and you shut the door on me. My dad frowned. That was different. Different how? I demanded. When I asked you for $2,000 and you hung up on me, that was different too. My mom nervously adjusted her necklace. We had our reasons. I stood up. Get out of my house right now. My dad's face turned red. You are making a huge mistake. Out, I repeated, pointing at the door. Justin also stood up with a tight smile. You will regret it. I looked him up and down. I doubt it. They left. But my dad's look made it clear to me that they were not going to let it go just like that. 3 weeks after that visit, Matthew and I went to a design and marketing conference in Dallas. It was a 3-day event. We had been looking forward to it for months. We arrived at the hotel, attended the first day, and everything was going well. On the second day around noon, I got a message from Barbara, my grandmother's neighbor. Amanda, there are people in your house. I saw them bringing things in. I just wanted to let you know. My stomach dropped. I opened my security camera app and checked live. There was my dad at the back door with tools in his hand. I saw him forcing the lock. Then I saw my mom and Justin going in with boxes and suitcases. They were moving in without permission. I called Justin with my hands shaking. What are you doing? I blurted out when he answered. We are moving in, he said calmly. This is a family home, we have the right. You broke in by force, I said, almost out of breath. That is a crime. Do not exaggerate, he replied. And if you try to kick us out, we are going to contest the will. We are going to say that grandmother was not in her right mind when she signed it. You are lying, I told him. Try us, he replied. That house should have been ours from the beginning. We are just taking what is ours. And he hung up on me. Matthew saw my face. We are heading back right now, I told him. We left the hotel that same day without waiting for the event to finish. We wanted to hit the road while it was still light out. We drove for several hours and arrived late in the afternoon. I was burning inside. When we arrived, I saw their cars outside. They were there as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I walked in and felt like they were invading my entire life. They had moved my furniture. They hung pictures of themselves on my walls. My dad's clothes were in my closet. My mom's things were already put in my bathroom. My dad came out to see me as if I were the intruder. What are you doing here? He blurted out. You were not supposed to return until tomorrow. Get out, I said with a voice that was no longer shaking. My dad crossed his arms. No. You do not even have a real family, without a husband, without children. You are alone. We are going to keep this house. We need it more than you do. I stared at him. This is my house. My grandmother left it to me. We will see about that, my mom said coldly. We are not leaving. I took out my cell phone. Fine, I am going to call the police. My dad let out a short laugh. Call them. We are going to say that we are your family and that you invited us. I looked at him without blinking. I have a video of you forcing the lock. My dad's face went stiff and for the first time the color drained from it. I dialed 911. I need to report a break-in at my house. They forced a lock and they refused to leave. The patrol car arrived shortly after. 2 officers got out. I showed them the video from my cell phone. You could clearly see my dad trying to open the door, and then the 3 of them going in with things. One of the officers spoke directly. You have 30 minutes to pack your things and leave. Otherwise, we will arrest you. My mom started crying as if suddenly this was a tragedy. Where are we going to go? I looked at her and felt a heavy calm. That is not my problem. They moved quickly, stuffed clothes into suitcases, grabbed boxes and stacked everything however they could. They were furious. Justin looked at me with hatred. My dad did not say anything, but his fear was visible. When they finally left, the officers told me how to file the complaint and asked for the footage from the cameras. I handed over the videos, and I also requested a restraining order so they could not come near my house or look for me. With the video and what had already happened, the authorities opened an investigation. Over time, an agent showed me something that left me freezing. They had found a group chat of theirs. The messages were right there. Weeks of planning. Which room each person was going to take. How they were going to get in. What they were going to say if I arrived. What excuse to use. I read one from my dad. She is alone and she is weak. In the end, she will give in. I read another from Justin. If she gets annoying, we threaten to contest the will. She will get scared. And one from my mom. We deserve that house more than she does. It hurt to read it. I am not going to deny it. But the pain did not last long because what came next was anger. It was not an impulse, it was not out of necessity, it was a plan. There were appointments, signatures, paperwork, and running back and forth. It did not happen overnight. In the end, my dad and Justin had to appear before a judge. The restraining order was upheld. They could not contact me or come near my property for 2 years, neither them nor my mom for safety reasons. I came out of all that exhausted, but with a relief I did not know existed. It was over. A week later I received a letter in the mail. It was handwritten by my mom, several pages. I held it in my hand and was about to tear it up, but something made me open it. It was an apology, not a perfect apology, but a real one. My mom wrote that they had failed as parents, that they had favored Justin their whole lives and that they had left me completely alone, that they were so obsessed with what they called success that they did not realize they were losing their daughter. She also wrote that they had lost everything. My dad had been fired from the insurance company for irregularities. That is how she said it, without going into details. Justin had lost his savings in bad investments, the kind that promise a lot and end up in nothing. They lost their house and were renting a small apartment. She said she understood why I did not want them in my life, that she did not blame me, that she just wanted me to know that she finally saw what they had done. The letter ended like this. I do not expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand how poorly we acted. I hope you have a happy life, Amanda. You deserve it. I read it 3 times. Then I sat down and wrote a short reply. Not out of kindness but for closure. I acknowledge your apology. I appreciate that you finally see what you guys did, but I am not ready to have you in my life. Maybe I never will be. I need to move forward without you. I hope you understand. I mailed it. I did not get a reply and that was fine. Life went on. My studio grew. I hired someone else. We took on bigger projects. Creative horizons started to become known in the area. Matthew stayed by my side the whole time. He was calm, steady, affectionate. He believed in me. He never made me feel small. He never mocked my dreams. A year after what happened, one afternoon we were having dinner in my grandmother's garden. I set up a table under the big tree. The sun was going down and the air smelled of damp earth and flowers. Matthew stood up, came closer and got down on one knee. He took out a ring. Amanda, he said with his voice trembling a little. You are the strongest person I know. Will you marry me? I started crying, unable to contain myself. Yes, I told him. Yes, of course. We got married 6 months later, something small in the garden with close friends, no family. Only the people who were truly there. It was perfect. Through mutual friends, from time to time I found out things about my family. My dad started drinking too much after everything. He and my mom barely spoke. Justin moved to another state to try to start from scratch with a sales job, trying to put together what he broke himself. My mom filed for divorce. She wanted to start over alone. I heard about these things and felt nothing. Neither guilt nor sadness, just a quiet certainty. They made their choices. This was what came next. My life was good, very good. The studio kept growing. Matthew and I were at peace. My grandmother's house finally felt like a complete home. And I was pregnant. I was 3 months pregnant. We had found out a few weeks ago. I sometimes thought about my grandmother Evelyn, about how she was the only one who believed in me when no one else did, about how she gave me the foundation to build this life. I would have liked her to see me like this, seeing everything I managed to build. I am sure she would have been proud. One Sunday afternoon, I was in the garden arranging some new plants in the same spots where my grandmother put her favorite flowers. Matthew was inside making something to eat. I got a call from an unknown number. I was about to not answer, but I did. Amanda, said a voice I recognized immediately. It was my mom. The restraining order had expired the month before. I just wanted to tell you something, she said with a soft voice. I heard that you got married and that you are going to have a baby. I did not say anything. I am not asking to be in your life, she continued quickly. I know I do not have the right. I just wanted you to know that I am proud. You made something beautiful from scratch. You are going to be a great mom. I felt a lump in my throat. Thank you, I said quietly. I also wanted to make something clear to you, she added. And a breath was heard on the other side. If you ever need financial help, no strings attached, without me showing up, without demanding anything, let me know. Not to buy your forgiveness, but just to make amends, even if it is late. I closed my eyes. There is no need, I said honestly, but thank you for saying it like that. That was all, she replied. Take care, Amanda. And she hung up. I stayed there in the garden with the cell phone in my hand. A part of me felt sad for what could have been if my parents had been different. But above all, I felt gratitude for Matthew, for my baby, for the house, for my job, for the life I built without anyone handing it to me. I put my phone away and went back to the dirt, to the flowers, to my reality. This was my life now, my home, my family, my future, everything I earned, everything I deserved. And yes, I was happy. Comment. I really connected with this story because it reminds me how important it is to value yourself first. Setting clear boundaries with family isn't selfish. It's necessary for your peace. I've learned that taking responsibility for your own life opens doors you never imagined. True kindness often comes from those who see your worth without expecting anything in return. Healing takes time, but choosing to build your own path makes it worthwhile. You don't have to stay stuck in toxic patterns just because they're familiar. I encourage you to surround yourself with people who lift you up and support your dreams. Learning to choose peace over drama has changed how I see relationships in my own life. Trust that you're capable of creating a beautiful future on your own terms. Thank you for watching and reflecting with me today. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.